sitting with Coach Kelvin Jefferson at South Kent School. Coach Jefferson is currently Director of Basketball Operations at South Kent, and we're going to talk today about grit and motivation. Coach Jefferson, can you start off by giving us a little bit on your background?
I've been working with student athletes for almost 20 years now. Most of that at the collegiate level, and now here at South Kent for the past 5 years. I've worked with guys that have played at the highest level of basketball and gone on to play some very good college basketball and high school basketball.
Excellent. So what we want to talk about today is some new educational theories that are emerging. These are theories on motivation and grit, and we're seeing a lot of research that indicates in the classroom that the smartest kids don't always score the highest, and sometimes the least smartest kids are actually not scoring the lowest. And we were wondering about the equation and how this relates to athletics in your experience. Have you seen maybe talented players not succeed as much and less talented players succeed more? If you could just speak a little bit on that and maybe why you think that's so.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first, I think that, I always say what you see on the court is usually what you see in the classroom. The way a kid is on the court is exactly the way he is in the classroom. There's a direct correlation to it. The students that come from backgrounds where they don't have the resources to get tutoring and a lot of help, they usually understand that they have to work a lot harder. They usually understand that they have to seek out tutors, seek out extra help, seek out their peers to help them advance in their studies. And that's the same thing you see in the court. Usually the players that aren't as gifted or have the natural ability are the ones that you see working the hardest, spending the most time in the gym before practice or after practice, getting up those extra shots, asking the coaches to come rebound for them. The players that I've had in the past that have all the ability, have all the natural ability, the talent, usually those guys aren't the ones with the grit that work their tails off. It comes easy for them. And sooner or later, they get passed by the guys that have the grit, understand they have to be in the gym and a little grittier and work harder. Sooner or later, they get passed out.
Very interesting, Coach Jefferson. We also wanted to ask you a little bit, you talk about grit. Grit is kind of defined as passion and the perseverance in the attainment of long-term goals. And you said typically some of your less talented players are the ones that possess more of this quality, and some of your higher gifted players are ones that maybe don't have it as much. How do you personally try to build this, with your team and your players? How do you try to make your guys grittier? And particularly, how do you reach out to those very talented players and, try to really increase their grit?
I tell you, I think the person that gets the answer to that is going to make a lot of money. Grit, as I see it, is either you have it or you don't. That's not saying that kids with a lot of talent, athletically or academically, can't succeed. But grit is something that's inside a person. It's hard to give somebody something they don't have. Yes, what we try to do, we try to push, we try to motivate as best we can, and we hope that the kids that have the grit, that it becomes contagious, and sometimes it does. But the kids that have the grit are always going to be the ones that are doing the extra. And what you always hope, especially when it comes to athletic, that you have enough kids with grit that are going to pull along the other kids with talent, and as they get better, everybody gets better, the team gets better, and everybody has a lot of success.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. In terms of, kids being gritty and their ability to overcome failure and persevere as a team, obviously that's a big component to winning games, and also definitely makes a big difference in the long haul in life. The last question I would like to ask you relates to characteristics of kid you said they either have grit or don't. What characteristics in young men that you've worked with do you think are the biggest influences and motivators on their grit? Maybe family background, their upbringing, socioeconomic status. What kind of things do you think influence that naturally?
One thing some people say grit. I always like to say that, some kids just have a chip on their shoulder. And the kids that come in with a chip on their shoulder, they always seem to have something to prove, which I think translates to what we call as grit. Coming from disadvantaged situations where families don't have much money, where there's a single parent in the family, where the player is saying, hey, I have to succeed, I have to do well in order to help my family get out of a bad situation. They tend to be motivated more. They tend to have what we call as that grit. The players, the students that, again, that things come easy to them. The grades come easy. The understanding of reading textbooks comes easy. They don't have to work as hard in order to be good at making a jump shot. They're bigger, they're stronger, they're faster, they're more athletic. Sometimes you don't see the grit in those guys as much. And then long term is where the grit, it really pays off. Initially, while they're here, you don't see the payoff, but the grit, as they continue to work their tails off, as they continue to get better and ask for the extra help, ask for the extra rebounding, then down the road, maybe 5 or 10 years, you see that grit pay off in what they are as adults, being successful in any field they choose to be. So I mean, you see it coming from students from different backgrounds, but the kids that have to fight for everything they have are usually the kids with the most grit.
Great. Thank you, Coach. We appreciate your time, and hopefully it will be a gritty season.